Welcome back to another episode of the Rational Football League Show. My name is Emmett. I'm here with my co-host Brendyn Ford.
What's up, y'all?
It is another week down in the football season. We are down to the final game, guys. Super Bowl is finally here. It's going to be the 49ers versus the Chiefs, just like many of us thought to begin the season. We have a lot of news to get caught up on, it feels like. Before we get into all that, don't forget to check us out on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. You guys can find us all under that handle of the Rational Football League Show or the RFL Show. We really appreciate you guys interacting with us on those. Come talk to us. Let us know your thoughts. Always love hearing from you. But with that, we're going to get right into the news of the week segment. Starting with the Championship Sunday recap, we had the first game, which was the Chiefs versus the Ravens. I believe the Chiefs pulling it out 17-10 over the Ravens. I got that right?
Correct.
Mm-hmm. But I just want to get your quick take from that game. What was the big thing that kind of stuck out to you?
You know, the Chiefs defense really stifled the Ravens offense. We kind of knew that already, like going into the game. Chiefs defense is a very good unit. I don't know, man. I mean, my meatball fan in me, I wanted the Ravens to win. Just because, right? We talked about that last week. But hey, dude, you got to appreciate greatness when you see it. This is what the Chiefs' sixth straight time. Well, that was just their sixth straight time going to the conference title game, right? And then or something like that. And then Mahomes made it to the Super Bowl 4 times his career. If I got that right so far, yes. I think it's around there.
I think it's 4.
I mean, this is like a dynasty that we are watching right now. It's crazy to see. Hats off to the Chiefs, man. They got it done. And on the road, that was a huge talking piece, right? Going into the playoffs, the Chiefs had to go win on the road, and they did. So shout out to them.
Yeah. For me, I think the biggest kind of thing was, a couple of different points. First of all, we're talking about one Zay Flowers fumble away from that game being tied up. We're looking at the fact that the Chiefs put up 0 points in the second half. The Ravens really got outside their own blueprint of how they've been winning all year, which is very odd to see. And we'll touch on this more later in our Ravens Super Bowl window segment. But we kind of noted it while watching it. Something seems kind of off about Lamar Jackson. And I don't mean in a stupid fucking derogatory way. Oh, he's a running back. We're used to seeing Lamar when he hits that open field, he's gone. He's one of the fastest guys in the league. He's one of the shiftiest guys in the league. I think it was on a 4th and 2. I think it was in the first half, might have been the first quarter. He broke through the line. It was him and a safety, and he got caught. And I think it caught both of us really off guard because we've just never really seen that from Lamar. So I'm not sure if he was hurt in that game. Maybe if you're a Ravens fan watching this, let us know in the comment section. Tell us if you've noticed that, if that's how it's just kind of been all year, if he has been dealing with a nagging knee or ankle injury or something like that. We'd love to hear it. But I think that was just one of the things that really it was very off-putting to kind of see because it's just not what we've come to expect from Lamar Jackson. Another thing I'd like to include, I know I've seen a couple conversations about this, not to rehash this old thing again, but the fact that the MVP race doesn't go through the playoffs is kind of ridiculous. It's the fact that it ends right at the end of the regular season. Because, you have 2 of the top 3 candidates with Brock Purdy, Dak Prescott, and Lamar Jackson, 2 putting up really bad playoff performances. And then Mahomes, who really didn't get consideration throughout the year, has been on fire throughout these playoffs and really should be getting more consideration now. So it's kind of one of those things, and you can make the argument too, Brock Purdy's been fantastic, in the second half of that Packers game, actually both second halves of the Lions and Packers game. Not that I'm saying he should get any more consideration, but just the fact of maybe Mahomes should be getting more consideration than maybe Dak did for shit in the bed against Green Bay, but he'll still be a nominee based on, those regular season numbers against okay teams. So those are kind of my takeaways from the game.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are my kind of takeaways from the game. The biggest one obviously being, to me, that I will include right now, is that you're right. This Chiefs team is a dynasty. You're watching greatness. And if you're just a fan of football as a sport, it's really cool to see. If you're a fan of a team specifically, it really fucking sucks to see because you just win, especially if you're an AFC team fan.
Yeah,
you just went through having to go through the Patriots dynasty for 20 years, and now right as that one's ending, this Chiefs dynasty seems like it's taking off. So I can only
for sure.
imagine how much that must suck. Yeah, with that
Yeah,
we
nah,
can
yeah. I was say
yeah with
that
it
that would be ass, dude. Have to go through
yeah
that,
yeah that would
especially
fucking
like the
suck. Like
Bills or the Ravens or something like that.
oh
Yeah,
my
dude,
god, yeah.
that's tough, man.
Yeah, you
That's
really got to
tough,
feel for
bro.
like Bills fans because you went through having Tom Brady in your division for 20 years and not being able to really win a division title and make the playoffs. To now all of a sudden you can make the
Right,
playoffs, but oh yeah, now you got to face Patrick Mahomes every year and that dynasty in the playoffs.
right,
So,
right.
um, but
Crazy dog.
we can kick it over to the NFC portion now. You want to talk about feeling for fans? I mean, Detroit fans. So Detroit versus 49ers. Detroit was up 17 points at halftime. I believe it was 24-7 at halftime.
Yeah.
Uh, and then the 49ers just mounted a massive comeback, ended up winning the game. I think it was 34-31. I mean, again, you got to that's a fan, another fan group you really got to feel for. Detroit fans were convinced, they knew it, they felt it, they could taste the Super Bowl for the first time in the franchise's history. Just to have it ripped away at the last minute by the baby-faced assassin Brock Purdy. And I know people want to shit on Dan Campbell and his decisions to go for it. And that you can argue that all year, because there's certain situations previously where he saved the game or he kept his team in it by going for it on fourth down when other teams might have kicked the field goal or punted it. But the kind of view I have of that real quick, just not to go with hypotheticals, here's the situation, dude. You have to catch those. Both balls that were thrown to, I think,
Oh, for sure.
Josh Reynolds were very catchable, very easy. You got to make those. If you convert those, we're talking about a completely different game. The 49ers have zero chance of coming back. You're burning more clock off. I think, one, they're already in field goal range. Maybe you go down and score. Maybe you just take off another 3 minutes and kick the field goal. Either way, you have to make those catches. I mean, it's right in the breadbasket. But B,
Yeah.
what's your takeaway from the game?
Yeah, especially in those like moments, man. You got to make those like plays. I don't hate Dan Campbell in his fourth down calls. I mean, that's been his MO all season, right? So you can't give him credit for doing it and then also point the finger at him when it doesn't work. That's who he is. That's how he coaches it. That's fine. I'm actually from a betting football fan perspective, I'm actually mad at myself for not placing like a live bet at halftime for 49ers to actually win like the game. But I had like a feeling, I know you and I were texting back and forth. Like there's just a lot of time left, man. This doesn't feel out of reach for them, right? And you kind of got the feel in the first half because the Lions might have had their like number for the first half, but the Niners were also shooting themselves in the foot at every single go, right? It wasn't like the Niners were playing the best ball that they could and Lions just head and shoulders better than them, right? The Niners just weren't playing well, right?
Yeah.
And then yeah, man, I know a lot to talk about the whole Lions fans piece. I know a lot of Lions fans has had that mentality. Hey, we're just happy to be here, right? Like we haven't won a playoff game in forever. We won 2 so far, blah blah blah. Like we're just happy to be here. But then during that first half, their hopes they get high, right? It changed from hey, we're happy to be here. Oh shit, we can make the bowl. Like we can
Yeah.
make it, right? This is awesome. This is like life changing thing. Like I'm crying at home right now. I can't believe this is going on. And then Purdy comes back with the Niners and whatever. But it was a very good game. I liked it as a football fan. I mean, from a football fan perspective, this is everything that you wanted, right? A comeback win, 2 great teams going at it. Dan Campbell made a note to his team like after the game, like, hey, this might be our only shot because now teams know who we are, and we're no like secret. But I do expect them to kind of be around still, and not like they're going from like an NFC title game to like a 7-win team. They'll still be around. So there is hope there, Lions fans. But yeah, I mean that's the only thing I'll say about the game. It was a good game. It was fun to watch. And yeah, man, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, you know what? And that is something I'm going to disagree with Dan Campbell about because I don't think this is the last shot there. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they made it back there and possibly even made it to the Super Bowl next year for a couple of different reasons. Biggest one being that the big concern with the Lions going to the offseason was they're going to be losing their offensive coordinator and potentially a lot of dudes off their coaching staff because Ben Johnson was taking a job somewhere and probably going to take a bunch of assistants with him. That obviously didn't happen. Ben Johnson is returning to stay at the Lions. He's turned down the Washington job. He turned down the Seattle job. So that's already great news. You're running it back with the same coaching staff, a lot of the same players. The other portion of it too, and again, as a 49ers fan, it stinks to say, but this is the reality. Typically, teams don't make the Super Bowl back-to-back years. When they do, you have dynasties like the Patriots, you have dynasties like the Chiefs. But more often than not, teams don't make it back. Even, for example, in 2019, when the 49ers made it, 2020, terrible season. I don't think they made the playoffs. They had just injuries after injuries. You can look at this previous example with the Eagles. Super Bowl 1 year, next year, first round knockout to the Buccaneers. So more than likely, the 49ers have the Super Bowl. So more than likely, they're going to have some struggles next year. I would be surprised to see them back in a conference championship game or going all the way. So this is as good an opportunity as the Lions are going to have. You're still in the weaker conference. The Cowboys, for some reason, have decided to run it back with Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott, which we've seen how that goes, and we know the Lions are a formidable team against them. They almost beat them in Dallas. I think it was like week 16. So,
Yep.
And the biggest needs I see for the Lions, they need to improve that wide receiver 2 group. So they need to bring in some more competition, which, by the way, this draft is fantastic for. They also need to improve that corner, the second corner spot. By the way, this draft is also fantastic there too. So there's a lot of opportunity for them to patch some holes they have without having to do anything crazy or reckless like mortgaging their future. Yes, they are going to be getting every team's best shot. I think they're tough enough to take it. I think they have a really good team over there. And I think, again, I would not be surprised to see them back in the conference championship again next year with a better chance to make a Super Bowl run. So that's just my 2 cents on it.
Agreed.
So moving on to we have some coaching hires, wrapping up the last 2 spots for coaches. The Commanders have hired Dan Quinn, which kind of and Seattle hired Mike McCarthy. Seattle hired Mike McDaniel. Wow, all these names. Seattle hired yeah, I know. Seattle hired Mike McDaniel first before the Commanders hired Dan Quinn. This kind of really did feel like a situation where Washington was, the last girl at the dance that didn't have a date, so they just took anyone. Which, again, I know we've kind of joked. I think it was last week or the week before we kind of made those jokes about coaching and it being like a dating reality show. This really does feel like another one of those situations where all the roses were gone and the Commanders had to take what they can get. I know Dan Quinn wasn't their first, second, third, or fourth choice, but it's kind of what you got stuck with. How do you feel about it, B?
Yeah, I kind of have the same thoughts there. Like maybe they try to hit the home run shot with Ben Johnson. He decided to stay with the Lions. I'm really surprised though about Vrabel. Like I still don't get why he didn't get a job this cycle. I'm not saying Dan Quinn is bad, right? But in the case, and your example, they're kind of left without a date to like the dance, right? And you have Vrabel still out there, Quinn's out there. They chose Quinn. Makes you kind of wonder what was going on behind closed doors with Vrabel. Like, did he just not, interview well? Does he want to coach this season? Was this like his choice? So that kind of raised a little bit of a question for me, but I know the Commanders had a statement put out, and then they said something about how Quinn's leadership kind of impressed them, and that's why they went with Quinn. It's probably true. He's been around the league for a long time. Obviously, former head coach, took the Falcons to the Super Bowl, and obviously we know what happened there. So yeah, I mean, like I don't think it's the worst hire, right? I probably give it like a C or like a B. This is like it's a good average hire, I guess you can say. I'm intrigued to see who they bring in for OC. Have they hired anyone yet? Actually, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't remember hearing anything yet about a potential hire.
I could be wrong about that. So it makes me wonder, what if like Eric Bieniemy, is he planning on coming back for OC? what's like the plan there? If it's true they haven't hired anyone, which I could have missed that, but I don't know. But yeah, those are kind of my final thoughts on it. It's not a bad hire. Could have been a better hire. And I'm intrigued to see how they kind of flesh out the rest of the staff.
Yeah, for me, it kind of feels like a placeholder kind of hire. I think this is bad on Washington's new ownership. I think they nailed the GM hire in Adam Peters, and then I think they locked on to Ben Johnson, and I mean it was all the eggs in one basket kind of thing, and unfortunately they dropped the basket in this situation. They should have had a backup option. They should have had Bobby Slowick, in the chamber just in case. Like, hey, we really, really like you. Let's get you in for a second interview. Let's get you in for a third interview. Are you comfortable leaving? Like, is this what you want to do? Having those kind of conversations with these guys so they kind of do know where they stand and know, okay, Bobby Slowick doesn't seem like he's going to be leaving. We need to find an alternative just in case Ben Johnson doesn't go because we know it's a 50-50 shot. So I think that's just kind of bad on them. I think they, maybe, and I hate to bring it up like this, but it does need to be addressed and said. The ownership for Washington, I cannot remember the guy's name right now off the top of my head. I believe he does also own the 76ers. And I do know basketball works a lot differently than football does. And it's also, I think Magic Johnson's a minority owner for Washington as well. So I don't know if it's a matter of, he just felt, that's what they're used to dealing is, hey, a coach is a coach is a coach. We know what guy we want. We're going to bring in that guy. They're not going to say, no, that's just not what happens. Because it isn't what happens in basketball. And they're just not used to how things are done in football. So I'm curious. And I know Ben Johnson, there's kind of a little bit of a media spat already, with Washington putting out, kind of leaking to the press of, well, Ben Johnson didn't interview well. And Ben Johnson leaking out that he wasn't impressed with Washington's new basketball ownership. So there's already been a little bit of a media back and forth with that. So not a great look by Washington's new ownership to start. But again, it does kind of feel like a placeholder kind of hire. Dan Quinn, I am going to be honest about it. I lost a lot of respect for him is maybe an okay word to say. Confidence in him, maybe is a better word. I'm going to say confidence instead. I've lost a lot of confidence in him, especially after, that the Packers playoff game where his team looked completely unprepared, not ready. And even when you go back to his tenure as the Falcons head coach, you can almost attribute a lot of that to their Super Bowl run was with Kyle Shanahan as the offensive coordinator and a lot of his guys on staff. The minute he left, they quickly deteriorated and fell apart with him getting fired. I think it was like 3 years later after just, having a real middling team back-to-back seasons, no matter who they brought in. So, again, I do agree that offensive coordinator hire is going to be very crucial for any kind of success they're going to see there in Washington. But I do feel bad for whatever rookie quarterback gets drafted there because they're almost going into what feels like a better situation, but almost feels like the Urban Meyer situation.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I didn't even think about that, but I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's tough. Yeah. I mean, hopefully Dan Quinn's a little bit better than Urban. I mean, Urban was probably like, man, like dog poop, bro. Like it was not good. But yeah, you definitely don't want to get stuck in like a lame duck head coach, scenario.
So yeah, so whatever quarterback gets drafted to Washington, we need to remember to have patience with them because it's probably going to look really rough this first year, and it's not their fault. It's the situation they're put into, but we just got to be mindful of that. So moving on to the hire that I did like preferably more than the Dan Quinn hire in Seattle's Mike McDonald hire. He's actually had a lot of success against NFC West teams. I think this year they went 4-0. His defense went 4-0 and held. And not only just went 4-0 against NFC West teams, he also, I think, held, I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but the Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay system that he faced, I think he faced it 6 times this year. I think he held them all to under 20 points except the Rams, who they still beat 34-31 in overtime. So he's shown he has success against that McVay Shanahan system, which he'll now be seeing 4 times a year in Los Angeles and San Francisco. So I think it's a slam dunk hire for Seattle. They go from having one of the oldest, if not the oldest, head coach in the NFL to the youngest head coach with a 36-year-old Mike. And B has put in a great point here that I'll read off for him. 5 out of the 8 head coaches hired this cycle are defensive minded. So B, I'll let you talk a little bit about that and what your thoughts are about that.
Yeah, I'll keep my breakdown kind of short here. I just kind of thought that was intriguing, especially, and this could be a disconnect between sports media world and what actually goes on in conversations between people in the actual league. But we hear all the time is like, hey, you want to get that rising OC, get that young guy on there who's part of that Shanahan or McVay tree. That's the way the league is going. That's like the blueprint of having a great team. And then we see this cycle, more than half of the head coaches hired are all like on like the defense, right? So I just thought that was like intriguing. I think maybe from the actual NFL like front offices, like maybe they don't put that much weight behind the rising OC versus a like a rising DC. Maybe they look more in the actual person, like is he a good leader? Can he lead like a group of men, right? I don't know. That's all my thoughts on there. Just kind of want to keep this kind of open and like vague. That's the first thing I really thought about. I haven't looked at historical data, right? So like maybe there is a trend with rising DCs getting more jobs and rising OC the over past 3 years. I don't have that in front of me. But I just thought that was intriguing that we hear all the time, right, in media and Twitter and whatever, like, hey, the rising OC is a way to go, and then now we have a bunch of DCs getting jobs.
Yeah, and I think, again, obviously we don't have the numbers in front of us, but from what I can remember, I do agree. I think it's been a lot of offensive coaching hires for the last few years. But I think the big shift this year, and I think we kind of noted in a tweet, I don't know if we actually said it on camera, but offense is down this year. I mean, look at running back. We're talking about Christian McCaffrey as an MVP candidate, and he's only got like 1,400 rushing yards in the regular season. I mean, that's by no means an outstanding large number. That's, it's not par, but, it's a good season. You look at that and be like, oh, it's a good year. But you wouldn't think, the MVP. I think, who was the leading passer? I think it was Dak Prescott with like 4,400 yards, 4,500 yards. It feels like the last few years we've been seeing quarterbacks, usually have 10 quarterbacks in that 4,000 to 5,000 yard range. I feel like this year is only like 3 quarterbacks. So, I mean, just overall, it seems like offense has really been down this year. So it tells me, if we're looking at trends, that defense is starting to make a comeback. It's starting to make a rise. Defense is starting to matter. And I think we've seen it also in, what's that? People use WAR, EPA per play, which is supposed to measure like the success of each play. Defense has been the lowest it's been for years, and it's now starting to slowly make a comeback back up. So maybe that's just what it is the league's noticing a trend of, hey, we have a lot more defensive coordinators now that are finding ways to stop this Shanahan system, this McVay system. We want to get these guys in here because the more of these offensive coordinators that use that same system get hired, we need something to counteract it. Here's our counter punch. We're hiring defensive guys that can stop it. So maybe that's the new key to being hired, either be a part of the Shanahan McVay system or knowing how to stop the Shanahan McVay system. So I would expect Jim Schwartz to get an opportunity here pretty quick, because he's been, for those that don't know, he's been fantastic at stopping Kyle Shanahan. I think he averages like 16 points a game against Jim Schwartz.
Schwartz is a DC at Cleveland right now, correct?
Yep, he's the DC at Cleveland right now. So, and we also saw how that game went earlier in the year. I think 49ers put up 16 points that game. So right on at par for his average. So
it's crazy.
Moving on to additional. Yeah, I was just going to say, moving on to additional hire for Seattle. Leslie Frazier, another defensive guy, is being brought in to be their assistant head coach. So the young head coach is bringing in a veteran DC guy who's also a head coach before, with some experience to really help guide him in the right way. I think this is a solid hire for him. I think it's a great, like mentor hire. I think Leslie took this past season off, but previously he was with Buffalo. as their
Yep.
DC. So it just seems like a slam dunk hire for Seattle and for McDonald, kind of bringing in some veteran experience there.
Agreed.
So this one was funny because we have the note typed out here as the Raiders have hired Kliff Kingsbury for their OC
Sorry,
role.
I had a typo in there.
But no, you're good. Kliffberry, Kliff Kingsbury for their OC. But 2 minutes right before we hopped on camera to start recording, he announced that he is withdrawing his name from that position, which I don't know if you could still withdraw your name from a position if you've already been hired. I think it's just called quitting or resigning. So you don't withdraw 3 weeks into the job, but whatever.
Right.
So that's a whole lot to unpack, and we're kind of getting that live. So, I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are about why you think he might have withdrawn from the position. What does this mean for the Raiders and Caleb Williams? Because for those that also don't know, there's a lot of rumors going around that the Raiders are going to trade the farm and the house and everything else to try to get Caleb. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. So, was his deal and his contract ever finalized? Do you know, or was it just, hey, they're working on it? It's a rumor right now. I don't know if did they actually ever finish the deal?
I'm assuming not, based on the wording of he's withdrawing from their offensive coordinator consideration. I'm assuming that means that it wasn't finalized and that they were still working on the details.
Okay, because my mind first goes maybe they had a dispute over the money, maybe the actual contract terms, the Caleb Williams piece is pretty intriguing, but it was still pretty a low probability that they're going to get him regardless, right? As we talked about before, the first pick doesn't seem to be for sale, so that's I think he went into it already knowing that. Yeah, go ahead.
So maybe kind of conspiracy theory here a little bit here. Don't want to put my tin cap on too much, but just kind of reading some tea leaves. Because Kliff did work with USC as not their OC, but he was a consultant or something. Their
quarterback coach, I think. A quarterback coach / analyst, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So he was a quarterback coach and analyst. So when he was projected to be the Raiders' new offensive coordinator, there was a lot of inference that the Raiders are now going to trade up to number 1 to get Caleb. They're going to trade the farm and house, like I just said. So I wonder it wasn't a matter of, hey, we want to bring you in, Kliff, because we're going to get Caleb. We're going to move up to get Caleb. And Kliff was like, yeah, I want to come in because I want to keep working with Caleb. And then once the Raiders called the Bears and said, hey, we want the number 1, we want Caleb, what's it going to cost us? And they heard the Bears offer of, well, if you want him, it's going to cost you Max Crosby, Devontae Adams, a first this year, a first next year, a second this year, a second next year, and a third this year. I wonder if the Raiders didn't try to negotiate back and forth a little bit till they got to the point where you know what, this just isn't happening. We're not trading up to number 1, so there's no point in bringing in Kliff. So we might as well just cut ties with it now because we wanted Kliff for Caleb. But if we're not going to get Caleb, I'd rather go with somebody else.
Right. And then to add on to that theory, what if I can't take the credit for his Colin Cowherd actually tweeted this out. What if he's going out east to Washington? What if he thought OC job is open out there, right? Maybe we prefer the
around and everything gets Caleb.
He's like,
he's like, Washington might get Caleb, so I guess I should go there instead. Nope, Washington's not going to get.
Saw the Raiders
Chicago.
He's like, hey, what's the next best spot, right, to get Caleb? Washington. They're at 2. So he's like, screw it. I'm gonna go out there and see what's going on. Of course, guys, that's just a theory. There's no credibility behind that.
That'd be so fucking funny.
But it makes you wonder, in all, this is being serious. Either it was a financial thing, he didn't like the money, they didn't see eye to eye on that, or he saw a different job that intrigued him more than the Raiders, right? And maybe there's not that many OC jobs open right now, so makes you wonder.
I wouldn't doubt the. I know it's a theory. Again, I know we're kind of fucking around here, but I really wouldn't doubt the how close we are to being accurate on that, because even like when Kliff went to Arizona, right? They had Josh Rosen. They had just drafted 10th overall. He was going to be their quarterback of the future, whatever. And when he was hired, his whole thing was, I want Kyler. I wanted him in college. I didn't get him there. I want Kyler. And was willing to look like an idiot, trading away the guy that he just drafted first overall to get Kyler. The same thing now. He wanted to work with Caleb. So he specifically went to USC in any capacity they would take him because he wanted to work with Caleb. So I wouldn't really surprise me too much if that was the truth of the matter of he went to Las Vegas because there was kind of like a promise of, hey, we're trading up to get Caleb. We want Caleb. You worked with Caleb. You want to work with Caleb. We want you to be our RC, so you continue to work with Caleb. And once it was like, hey, there's no way we're going to be able to trade up to get Caleb, it's not going to happen. If he didn't back out and go, well, if you're not getting Caleb, I don't want to come here. I want to work with Caleb. So wherever he's going, that's where I want to go. So,
right.
Because the money thing, I mean, it's the money doesn't come out of the cap situation. It's whatever. So, if that's the situation, then, it's just the owner being cheap, which is really ridiculous. But I wouldn't, again, I'd probably put more stock into, he wants to go work with Caleb and he's going to try to go wherever he can to work with Caleb. And if there's a thought that,
dude, I was gonna say I'm gonna laugh my ass off if we're actually like kind of right with this, or Coward is like right with this. He's over at Washington now, and then post draft. Oh, actually, Kingsbury's gone. He's now on the Bears staff.
He's resigned from his position in Washington.
He's resigned.
It
comes out like after like the first pick. Yeah, the Bears select Caleb. All right, yeah, Kingsbury's now gone. So,
and I do want to throw this caveat in here as well. We do got to keep in mind that Colin Cowherd did just have to do a whole fucking apology tour about Caleb Williams because he mentioned that Caleb doesn't want to go to the Bears. He wants to go to Washington. That's where he's going, is Washington, because that's where he was born and raised. So now it makes you wonder, hey, another guy that's been tied to USC.
Most credible source.
Yeah. Well, here's why I'm kind of connecting some tea leaves here. Another guy that's connected to USC, Kliff Kingsbury. Now all of a sudden Colin's very tied into USC because they film out of LA. He goes there a lot, big supporter of them. He gets a lot of perks from there. So it wouldn't surprise. But again, he's now another guy. He's projecting from going from USC to Washington, just like he was trying to push the Caleb Williams USC to Washington narrative. And I kind of tweeted this out a little bit in jest, but a little bit in truth as well. Of, I wonder, who made Colin put out that notion of him going to, Caleb's going to Washington, because it just seemed like one of those things where it was like, do you really believe this, or is this something a narrative you're trying to push, and who's trying to make you push it? It kind of doesn't make me wonder if. So others that don't know, Colin Cowherd doesn't just talk football; he talks basketball, baseball. He's really tied into all that kind of stuff. So it makes me wonder, and he's really tied into the Lakers. He's really tied into Magic Johnson. So it makes me wonder if that's not the guy who's kind of pushing some of that. Hey, because again, you gotta ask, well, who benefits from this bad publicity to Caleb if he doesn't want to go to the Bears? Washington. He falls one spot. They get the guy that's supposed to be the generational quarterback, who's minority owner of Washington. Oh yeah, a guy that's known for playing for the Lakers, being in LA where Colin's located. Again, I'm doing this live on camera, which is probably not a great look for someone watching this right now, but it wouldn't be surprising to me if that's where kind of all of it comes from is, Magic Johnson's kind of, hey, Colin, you should definitely drop this bit of tidbits. And maybe the Bears question, should we draft Caleb? I mean, you saw the response from Bears fans immediately of, well, fuck this guy. He doesn't want to come here. We don't want him.
Right. Yeah. No. I think that's well thought out, man. We need that like meme of that sitcom, like Always Sunny in like Philly, where you've seen it, like all the string dots.
Oh yeah.
Like, he's like here's all like the tea leaves. We got all these stories because this is really what's going on live right now. No, I think that makes sense. Again, I know it's just like a theory, but I can see that playing out. I could. A film
Yeah.
theory, yeah, dude. I mean, it is smoke and mirror season. It's time to get leverage on people and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
if their
And
game
again,
plan really is to destroy the image of Caleb within the
yeah.
Bears fan base or the Bears themselves, yeah,
Yeah,
that could
I mean,
work.
you got to think. You got to think. These GMs, they're just people too. That same reaction you had of, well, fuck him if he doesn't want to come here. Fuck him. I mean, they're people. They're gonna, they see that story too. And Colin Coward's again very connected, very respected. If Ryan Poles looks and you got to take it as credible until it's not. With that kind of situation, you go, well, fuck him if he doesn't want to come here and he doesn't want to tell us that to our face. We'll let him drop. So
Yeah,
we'll move off of that. I think we've kind of spent way more time on that one little point than I think we thought we were going to, but it does kind of open a whole kind of can of worms. And for those of us that are questioning us as we're stupid idiots, you got to remember we might be wrong about it, sure, but the NFL is a very connected brotherhood. When things get out, it's because someone wanted it to get out, especially this time of year.
mm-hmm.
So that's why when you're hearing all these headlines, you're like, who the fuck cares about them? Why would it's because someone wants you to care or someone wants a specific person to care. And that's the best way to do it, is to link it to the media. So
Facts.
Moving on, let's burn through these last couple points here. The Steelers are hiring Arthur Smith as their offensive coordinator. I think it's a dumb idea. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't really have thoughts on it right now. I mean, like, I guess it's a good enough hire. You feel the role. Obviously, he has experience calling plays. Obviously, former head coach, all that jazz. So it's whatever.
It feels like a bail Kenny Pickett out kind of a hire of, he's a guy that's going to work with Kenny Pickett. He's not going to push to get someone else. He's worked with Ryan Tannehill before. He tried making Desmond Ridder work. So, he's probably one of those guys that feels he can save Kenny Pickett. And that's probably what the Steelers were looking for most in an offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Last little bit here, the Saints are working to hire 49ers passing game coordinator Clint Kubiak. I think he's the son of Gary Kubiak, the former Texans and Broncos head coach. They're working to make him their offensive coordinator. Any quick thoughts on that, B?
I think it's a good hire. Obviously, Clint, with being around the game for a long time, obviously you just touched on it. Gary was in the league for a long time. So 49ers have one of, if not the best passing attack in the league. So I know he could kind of bring a lot of knowledge there. I think their plans are to roll with Carr next season as of right now. So maybe you can kind of jumpstart the Saints offense a little bit better there, get Carr in a better place. But yeah, I think all in all, it's a good hire for them.
Yeah, he's a up and coming coach, rising name. I know a lot of people were hoping to get him. Good for the Saints to pick him up. I'm sure he'll only be there for a couple of years before he gets a head coaching opportunity himself. I like it. I agree with you. You kind of got to roll the dice with Carr again this year. I think based on that contract, I don't know if they have an easy out. We haven't looked into that, but usually you don't sign so much of that contract within a year. So my expectation is they'd probably run it back with Carr. I assume they also are probably going to draft a rookie to try to develop, maybe like a Bo Nix or someone like who might be a little bit more raw, just so they can sit behind Carr for a year, kind of learn, kind of see how it all works before taking the reins in 2025. All right, that covers our news of the week segment. Again, I apologize for sticking on that Kliff Kingsbury point longer than we should have, but who knows? If we're right, it makes a great clip in the future, and you guys got that knowledge here first on February 3rd or whatever day you're watching this video. If we're wrong, you can just ignore it and act like we're crazy, because that's the thing that happens.
Yep.
Cool. So we're going to move on to our player spotlight of the week. Again, I always like going through the backstory of this. So we had a subscriber actually comment about a Bills linebacker who wasn't getting enough attention, who stepped into a larger role, was doing a great job. I think he actually ended up making the Pro Bowl this year as an alternate. So I kind of recommend that we should do breakdowns of that and give guys attention that don't really get it. And I agree. B agreed. We felt it was a great point. So we've been doing that segment, I believe, almost every week since. This week, we're turning our attention back to a former 7th-round pick, no-name guy that kind of burst onto the scene. I think really took over last year. making a name for himself. And it's not the guy you think. He does dress in red and yellow, but it is not Brock Purdy. It is actually going to be Kamren Curl from the Washington Commanders, a safety. And B, I will let you take it from there.
Yeah, no, thank you for the intro. Yeah, Kamren Curl, you kind of touched on his background, but I kind of will say the points again. Safety for Washington, 7th round pick out of Arkansas. He's sitting at 6'2", 200 pounds. It's a more contract background. If you are into that stuff, he is set to be free agent in 2024 since he was drafted in 2020. If you're into PFF ranks him as the 21st overall best free agent in this cycle, and he is the 3rd best safety. My own thoughts is I think Washington will likely tag him, but I guess we'll see what happens. I definitely think that they should bring him back. Again, a question whether a tag or 2 to 3 year deal, whatever. Let's go over his 2023 stats. Kamren Curl, first of all, lined up all over the field. He did pretty much half of his snaps in the box, and then the other half and change at free safety. Sometimes you can find him in the slot, but more times than not, he was around the box, and we'll go into more details why. In regards to his actual stats, he had 111 total tackles, 1 forced fumble, and he played a lot, especially over the past couple years. Last season, he had about 700 snaps. This year, he's a little bit over 1,000. So he's out there on the field a lot. If you are into PFF grades, Kamren Curl did take a little bit of a dip in his overall grade. When you look at his 2023 grade compared to 2022. In 2022, he had an overall grade of 83, and he was ranked the 2nd highest out of all safeties in the league. So PFF liked him. And then in comparison in 2023, he had an overall grade of 67. And it was ranked 49th out of 95 safeties. So he did take a bit of a dip there. After you look at the numbers and his film, I think the dip can largely be because the Washington defense, I mean, they kind of cleaned house, so to speak, by the trade. By the trade deadline, they traded, Sweat, Young was out, right? And not like the defense was very stellar before that point. They kind of seemed like the whole defense just took a huge hit, which is kind of why the head coach is gone and whatnot. But if you look at his body of work over his first, 3 seasons before for this one, I mean, Curl is a good player, and he's a solid starter, which kind of goes in line with why I think Washington should bring him back. Now, let's talk about what I like about his game. Let's talk about the film. It is clear, pops off the screen. Run support is his forte. Already kind of mentioned that he lined up around the box more times than not. That's because he does not shy away from contact. He actually seeks it. He has a good knack for evading or shedding blocks, and he can tackle in space, which is huge. Also watching his film, I was surprised at how natural he moves when he plays in the box. He really looks like he played linebacker for his entire life, which is very cool to see because I think I read that he played corner in college and then converted to safety later on in his college career. Just the way he kind of shuffles and scrapes within the box, you can kind of tell it seems like a very natural thing for him. He also does a great job of tracking the ball when things get cloudy in like the box. Sometimes running backs like and maybe some inside zone play, they bounce it out. It's easy to kind of lose the ball carrier when it happens. No, man, he shuffles, he scrapes, he's there. Even when he's lined up at the high safety spot, his read and react is crazy. As soon as he runs action, he boom shoots down. He's either making contact at the line of scrimmage or close to it. Like I'm talking about maybe a 1 to 3 yard gain, which is crazy. I mean, for those watching, like that's very hard to do when you're 10 to 12 yards deep, right? And having that read and react to come down, fly down, and make that tackle, it's crazy. Sorry, excuse me. Talking too much here. And then going back to the whole run support thing, he has great instincts, like I already said. His read and react is awesome. His trigger is awesome. I can see why they play him in like the box. He's really a smaller like linebacker, and again, not knocking his coverage skills. He's pretty good in coverage too, but just the way he supports the run game is crazy, man. Speaking about coverage, he's really good in zone coverage. I wouldn't classify him as a ball hawk per se, but he's always around like the football. He knows his zone well. He's really quick to make tackles when guys catch a ball, so it's not much like yak on him. He makes the tackle. Washington also plays a lot of cover 3, so he's usually that safety that rolls down at the snap and plays that flat. And I saw a few times where he just like blew up like the running back slip screens. Like they cannot run a screen against this man. He's getting that for like a 2-3 yard loss. The OC's probably cussing someone out on that O line. How you guys not blocking this? There's a safety. Like, come on. Usually those like pancake blocks we see on the good old like highlight. But no, man, he does a great job of kind of shedding and making blockers miss and making that tackle in the backfield. So I know I'm kind of talking a lot here. That kind of wraps up my film breakdown of him and what I really, really like. And again, just to wrap up this entire segment, Kamren Curl is a natural when it comes to run defense. That's really, again, his forte. That's his strength. Whether it's in the box or at free safety, you can count on him to come downhill, make that hit. And again, he does not shy away from that, which is very impressive to see considering he was a corner during his college career. Again, not knocking corners, but they're also not always known to make those like hits. So he has that natural instinct to come down, make those hits. And again, Washington should focus on bringing him back, whether that's a 3-year deal, a tag, whatever. He does make that defense better. And with Dan Quinn rolling in town here, I can see his play and also into his grades kind of improve from last season too. So all in all, that's my spotlight on Kamren Curl.
Yeah, thank you for that great breakdown, B. Yeah, if you guys want to see more what we kind of talked about with Kamren and the possibility of Washington retain him, don't forget to go check out our Washington Commanders rebuild video. I think we just uploaded that a couple days ago or late last week. We did make an effort to make sure we kept him in-house for Washington because he's just been a fantastic player for him. But yeah, as always, thank you for that great breakdown. I'm sure this will become more prevalent for people as we get closer to free agency. And if he signs with the new team, they're going to want to know, and hopefully come find some great information here about him and his playmaking ability in the run game. So with that, we normally would move on to our game of the week segment. Unfortunately, there's no games of the week right now. It's just the Pro Bowl. So I figure we can go a little bit off the script. We're going to give you about 5 minutes to 7 minutes of us ranting about how shitty the Pro Bowl is. So
there we go. Let's do it.
Starting off with, how the fuck is Gardner Minshew a goddamn Pro Bowl quarterback? I'm already way ahead of myself. I'm sorry. Let me back this up here a little bit. Major problems I have with the Pro Bowl. First of all, how are players able to opt out? Put it in the context that if you are nominated for the Pro Bowl, unless you are in the Super Bowl or injured, you are required to be there because it's terrible. We now have this situation where you have these guys getting Pro Bowl nods as alternates for not having great seasons. I mean, sure, Gardner Minshew had an okay season. He was, good enough, but at no point should he have been a Pro Bowl quarterback. The same thing happened with Mitchell Trubisky. I believe it also happened with Mac Jones. It's terrible. It needs to stop. It devalues. It waters down the significance of the Pro Bowl. This is supposed to be your showcase of your star talent. This is supposed to be, these are our guys. These are our face of franchises kind of guys. This is where people are paying thousands of dollars in tickets to come meet and greet these guys, spend time around these guys, watch a great all-star game between these two teams full of great guys. And you have Gardner Minshew there, Trubisky there. You have, 5th, 6th, 7th guys that got voted. It's terrible, dude, over nothing. Like, for example, Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen not being there is an embarrassment. Neither of them have injuries, dude. What's your excuse for not being at the Pro Bowl? I think Josh Allen's playing in a golf
Dude.
tournament right now. Like, what does that say about your fucking Pro Bowl that a guy would rather go play in a golf tournament than be at your Pro Bowl? I'll let you take a point there, B. Sorry.
Yeah, I was say, can I join this rant off?
Yeah.
Dude, Pro Bowl is just a flat joke now. I think they should
Mm-hmm.
probably just cancel it. Like you can have the whole voting system and still give people the title. Oh yeah, you were a Pro Bowl guy, yeah. But dude, enough with like the flag football. And to your point,
God.
like guys is opting out. Just let them opt out. Like why are there like subs for people who opt out? Because now, when we were talking about this in the pre-show, like there's some like football fans or Colt fans 20 years from now. Hey, remember that Gardner Minshew guy? Yeah, he was a Pro Bowl quarterback. Whatever happened to him? No, he was not a Pro Bowl quarterback. Let's get that straight up. He was not a Pro Bowl quarterback.
Yeah.
So now you're kind of like inflating, maybe like the resume, the best way to put it, of these players. Like he's not a Pro Bowl guy, right? And have him over like you said, Josh Allen or a Lamar Jackson is a flat joke, dude. Cancel it. Just don't even have that. The game itself was shitty for the past, I don't know, ever since. I think I forget the guy, the safety who blew up the punter. I think was it Sean Taylor? Yeah, ever since that year, it's been a fucking joke, bro. Like, I don't want to watch this like grass fairy stuff. Definitely do not want to watch flag football. I haven't tuned in any Pro Bowl related stuff since I was like 7, I think. And I'm almost like 30 now. So just stop it. Just end it. You can have, in my stance, you can have the whole voting. You can have people have the title of a Pro Bowl guy.
Yeah.
I don't care about dodgeball. I don't care about flag football. Just stop it.
Yeah. So, and even to that point of, the games used to be really cool of like, they used to have like a bench press competition. They used to have a how far could you throw the ball competition. Like that stuff's all cool. And even some of the stuff they have now, like the precision passing, which they've been doing for years prior to, it all seems really cool. But why are you doing it on a Tuesday afternoon at noon or 1 p.m., whatever it was? Like, I didn't even realize it was going on until I was scrolling on Twitter and I was like, wait, is this going on right now? Who's watching that? Why not have all your stuff done Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Pacific? That's when our first game goes. It goes from the precision passing, then we do the obstacle course, then we have the bench press, then we have whatever, ending the day with the dodgeball, which is the most exciting things people like to do. Whatever. And then to your point of the game itself, yeah, the flag football thing needs to end. It's terrible. It's not interesting. You need to take it back to an actual game. Sure, you can go back to the captains picking their teams because that was interesting the first couple of years, but give these guys a financial incentive. Sure, if you win the Pro Bowl, you get $1 million. There you go. There's your incentive.
Right.
And to people screaming or typing whatever, the injury risk. It's minimal, guys. Let's be honest about it, right? They're not going out and playing 4 quarters of football, right? They rotate the guys out. The winners get the first quarter. The guys that play second get the second quarter, and so on, or however they do it. They're not playing 4 quarters of football. At best, you maybe have 1 injury. Maybe. And that can happen anywhere. Those guys get injured in the offseason all the time doing nothing. So I'd rather them at least be playing in a fantastic all-star game against the best of the best, showing off what they can do. That would just seem way more interesting to me than, or worth the injury risk rather than going and playing a golf tournament where you tweak your back and all of a sudden now you have to get surgery on a herniated disc or some shit like that. So I don't believe in the injury concerns. And as far as I can even recall off the top of my head, I don't remember there ever being an injury in the Pro Bowl. Maybe I'm misremembering, and that could be totally fine. I cannot remember anyone going to the Pro Bowl, any significant injury, someone goes to the Pro Bowl and tears their ACL. Maybe we'll Google it after. So I don't know where this whole fucking injury risk bullshit was made up from. But yes, I do disagree with you a little bit. I think they do need to have a Pro Bowl because, like I said, it's the NFL's here's our stars, right? You can pay $1,000 or whatever the package is to go to this place, and you're not only just meeting the stars of the Chicago Bears. You're not just meeting Justin Fields or whoever else is there from the Bears representing. You get to meet all the stars of the league. You get to meet the Josh Allens, the Lamar Jacksons. You get to meet the Dak Prescotts, the Christian McCaffreys if he were there, or, whoever else wins it that gets in that. You get to meet the stars. You get to get all these signatures. You get to talk to these guys, interact with these guys. It's like the place to be for football, for the best of the best, which is what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be the ultimate marketing for your league. And you guys have just watered it down so much off of bullshit excuses of an injury fear. I mean, again, find a way to incentivize these guys to fucking play and get them out there and get them playing. Let's let's fix the Pro Bowl. Let's make it a great game again. Let's make it memorable again. Stop with this horse shit of flag football. Stop with putting the games, the side games, whatever, on during the weekday at fucking noon. It's terrible.
Yeah, I hate being like an all or nothing guy, but like what they're doing right now is just like half-assing it. Like
this is terrible.
The flag football game is a half-ass move. Either do it all, do it right, or I know you say you don't agree with it. Just don't have it then. I'm not gonna watch this half-ass product of people running around with flags. You know what I mean? Like I'm open-minded. Like if they end up making this thing fun, okay, maybe. But again, I still haven't watched anything Pro Bowl related in 20-something years. I feel like I just stopped watching it because this was not good growing up. And now 20 might be a stretch. Maybe it's more like 10 to 15. But yeah,
I think I watched it when they first made it.
It's a bad state right now. Yeah,
when they made it Jerry Rice versus Deion Sanders, when they made them the team captains and they got to draft their teams and everything. I watched it. I think that first couple of years after that. Then once it got to the point where it was like, I think it was like fucking Chris Carter versus Randy Moss or something like that. I think, okay, like this is stupid.
Yeah.
If you're going to go that route, keep it that route. Keep it with like the competitive rivalries we knew out in history. Keep it with you can bring Peyton and Tom back every year. Like that's not a problem. And as much as I like Eli and everything, that's fun, right? I want a competitive game. So bring Tom and Peyton. Make it a Brady versus Manning Pro Bowl, right? The 19th edition of it. It's and then if you want to make it Richard Sherman versus Michael Crabtree, make it two guys that don't like each other and want to win this game. Like that's what it needs to be.
Right.
So I mean, there's ways to keep it exciting, to make it fun, to make it competitive, and everything. And there's ways to protect the guys too. Cool. You don't play more than a quarter. We're talking about 15 snaps here, maybe 20 snaps here. There's about 60 offensive snaps a game. Broken that up. So you're talking about 15 potential snaps. Like, get over yourself. You're not
right.
The chances of you having a major injury on 15 fucking snaps is terrible. And if guys go and they don't want to play, and I hate to go this route, fine them. Cool. If you guys want to go play in this game and you don't want to participate, you don't want to take it seriously, we'll fine you the amount of the entire trip we paid for you guys to go and spend this week lounging around in Orlando. How about that?
You already touched on it. And money solves most problems. Throw money on them.
Yeah,
you get this much money for being voted in and playing and playing, not just voted in, but and playing, and then also you get more money if you guys actually win.
Yeah, if you want to skip out, sure, it's $500,000 to skip out because that's how much you're costing us by you not going. If you want to go and not play,
you
fine,
lose your bonus.
Yeah, you want to go and not try,
you lose your like
$150,000. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Like that's
right.
There's a way to incentivize these guys, and it's not very hard. Again, does the NFL want to do it? That's up to them to make that decision. But if they was going to do it, that's the league that can do it. We already have a shitty basketball all-star game. The baseball one's the only one that's actually competitive and interesting to watch with the home run derby, and it's a game where they actually still try. So it's not. And again, it's very easy. It seems like a very easy problem to fix with the Pro Bowl, and it's supposed to be their ultimate, marketing show-off event, and they can't seem to get this thing right, which is wild to me. So.
Yeah.
With that, we will drop the Pro Bowl rant. I think we spent about 10 minutes on, so it's kind of a little bit over what I promised, but it's in that range. We're going to move on to our segments of the week. The first one, I'm going to try to remain calm on because it's such a frustrating topic. But for those that aren't aware, Cam Newton, I think about a month ago now at this point, maybe a month and a half ago, what made it short because apparently he has a fucking podcast or something. Because who doesn't nowadays? That's kind of the pot calling the kettle black, but whatever. We have a podcast, so this is what it is. He has a podcast, and he made it short a short clip where he was calling Jared Goff and Dak Prescott and Tua Tagovailoa and Brock Purdy game managers. And if you don't know too much about football, it doesn't sound bad. You're like, okay, who cares? People that do know football and understand that it's almost a derogatory term. It's almost an insult. You're implying that you're not really having a positive effect on the game. You're kind of just there trying to survive, is essentially like you're doing enough to be okay, but like you're not doing anything to like help your team, right? You're being carried. In the group project, you're the guy that just showed up with paper and pencils, but you didn't actually like make the diagram, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. That's a good way to put it.
So to follow up with that, after Brock Purdy has now led 2 playoff comebacks, he's looked fantastic. He helped lead that comeback against Detroit with his legs. Clearly just putting the team on his back when everything wasn't going right. Cam Newton came back with another short, which was, well, I didn't say Brock Purdy sucks. I said he's a game manager, and he's not, if you look at his team, he's not even one of the 10. You have to be one of the top 3 players on your team to be a game changer, which very arbitrary, doesn't make any fucking sense. And Brock Purdy is not even in the top 10. Again, very arbitrary, doesn't make any sense. So we decided we wanted to take this concept and kind of look into it and see if there's any validity to it. What does it mean? What does it make sense? Because this is how stupid sports talk has gotten nowadays. This is what we have to discuss. If a quarterback is one of the 10 best players on his Super Bowl contending team. Hey, do you want to start this off, or how do you want to do this?
Yeah, so I can give you my thoughts. I know you have some points. Don't want to take up your points. So let's talk about his actual quote. Okay, I actually took this in a very like matter of fact sense. Is Purdy really like the 49ers really have 10 players better than Brock Purdy? Okay, so let's look at it through this like lens. Short answer is no. Okay, and the way I kind of thought about this is I looked at the 49ers roster and looked at each player, right? And I was thinking about the ranking of said player in each of the players' field, right? So look at Trent Williams comparison to the tackles, Nick Bosa comparison to edge rushers, George Kittle in comparison to tight ends. So I think you
Right.
get it. So
yeah.
I really thought about this. Okay. I was like, okay, let's look at the All Pro list. How many of these guys are All Pro players this season? Trent is an All Pro. Fred Warner is All Pro, and I'm pretty sure George Kittle was also All Pro. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 3. I was like, okay, you can probably make an argument those 3 players are better than Brock Purdy. Now you might be saying yourself, well, Nick Bosa. Okay, I did not forget about him. In my mind, in terms of right now, like this season, I kind of had like Brock Purdy and Nick Bosa like kind of tied, right, in regarding to like how well they played this season. Because Nick Bosa wasn't All Pro guy this year, which I'm pretty sure he wasn't. You guys can fact check me on that.
No, he only had like 10.5 sacks this year.
Right, he kind of had like a down season, but he is a former defensive player of the year. So okay, I kind of took that into like a factor, whatever. So those are. I named 3 guys who are like, either top 1 or top 2 in their field this season. Maybe you can make the case that they are better than Brock Purdy. I'll keep my point there for right now. I know you had some thoughts about that too. So I'll let you kind of go off there, and then I can give the rest of my thoughts later.
Okay, so this is where I'm going to pick it up right where you dropped it off. And I do really appreciate the effort you're putting into with where guys in their field compare. Absolutely. Here's my problem with it, right? These guys don't play the same fucking position. So you can look at it in that kind of comparison, but again, it's still pretty arbitrary. Brock Purdy might be the 8th best quarterback in the league, right? But is the 8th best quarterback in the league better than the best fullback in the league? Is the 8th best quarterback in the league better than the top 3 edge rush? Like, what's the metric system? What's the comparison here? It's just all subjective. It's all opinion and opinion. This is what bothers me the most about this. And it's right. Because people go, well, Cam Newton's allowed to have his opinion. You're right. Cam Newton's allowed to have his opinion just like everyone else is. Just like we do. We have a show. That's why we do this. Right? He's an MVP quarterback. Cam Newton is. He played in the league 9-10 years, I think. Former number 1 overall pick, Heisman winner at Auburn. He's played football the majority of his life. This man knows football. He knows it. He knows the ins and outs of it, right? So if you make this kind of claim of Brock Purdy is a game manager, right? Why are you not giving us something to back that up? Why are you not dropping football knowledge on us to back it up? Brock Purdy's a game manager because when you see him in the concept breakdown here, and this is the concept brain, it's a dagger route with this to that to here underneath the line to hold the backers. Brock Purdy can't work outside that. The play goes wrong. He takes a sack or he just has to throw it away, right? This is what a game changer does. See, Patrick Mahomes breaks it out of the pocket. He makes the play right even when it's wrong. Give us some football knowledge, dude. Like, you know your shit. You're supposed to know your shit. You did this for a long time at the highest level. Why are you giving us Nick Wright, Stephen A. Smith, Skip Bayless level of analytics, of hypotheticals and arbitrary bullshit? Like, his thing of like, well, you have to be the top 3. Says who? Says what? Right. They don't play the same position. You can't compare them. It's not apples to apples. It's apples to oranges. If you looked at it like this, right? If you went, because like what you were saying, right? Players in their field versus each other. Okay, cool. That makes sense. If you had to lose one player for the rest of their season, would you rather lose Kyle Juszczyk, the top fullback in the league, or Brock Purdy? Who do you think the 49ers would rather go without for the entire season? What about George Kittle versus
Juice
Brock
is
Purdy?
Nice. No, I'm kidding. Yeah.
What about
definitely
Brock
Juice?
Yeah. Or what about Talanoa Hufanga, a former All-Pro safety last year in his third year? Who are they taking, Hufanga or Brock Purdy? It's Brock Purdy. Every time. There's maybe one player, 2 players, maybe they're taking over Brock Purdy to lose for an entire season. Not saying that they want that, but it's the quarterback is still the most important position. So if we're talking about value on a team full of all pros, he's still the most important person out there. You're not winning without him. We've already saw it in the NFC Championship game last year. Right? You can't put anyone back there, even with all the all-pros they have, and just play and win. They looked fucking terrible. They couldn't move the ball with Josh Johnson back there, who's a veteran fucking quarterback. He's been in the league fucking 15 years. Could not do anything with all the Avengers around him. It's so frustrating, all this topic. This is what sports talk has gotten to, is we have former MVPs not giving us analysis and breakdown and dropping football knowledge on us, differentiating in between a game changer and a game manager. And this is why I stand by that statement of Brock Purdy's good, but he's not changing the game, which maybe there is an argument. I don't know. Maybe there is an argument for that. But you're just telling us he's not a top 3 player on his team? Based on what? Yeah. I'll let you continue. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. I just kind of want to bounce off your thoughts there and kind of run out my thoughts too. Yeah, it's very like you already said, Skip Bayless, Stephen A. Smith type of takes. Like, where's the film breakdown? Where's the fleshed out thoughts at? Like, where's the evidence and the data behind it? Like, do play in like the league for a long time. We kind of expect more out of him for that. But the 2 points I also want to hit on too. It's kind of coincide with your point. There has to be a point between like an importance to your team and like, I guess, overall best football player. But to your point, like if before the season, Kyle Shanahan saw some fairy genie, okay, and was like, hey, I'm going to take away one player from your team for the entire season, right? Who do you want me to take away? And he had a list of players who was, ranked off Cam Newton's thoughts of top players in the 49ers, and Brock Purdy was like 12th, right? Do you think Kyle was saying, oh, yeah, let's take away Brock Purdy over like a Fred Warner? Let's take Brock Purdy out of there over like a Debo. There's no way in hell, because quarterback is the most important spot on every damn team, right? We all know this. It's the hardest job to do. It's the most important job to do. Yeah, you could have an Avenger levels cast out there, but to your point, you have a third string quarterback that are playing with them. The results are not going to be good. Okay. Yeah. So that's kind of the first point. And then just looking at it in like a black and white sense. Okay. We look at Purdy's stats. He almost led like every QB metric in the league this season. Either he was top 1 or like top 5. Okay. I don't know if you can do that if you're just a game manager, right? Because you're not going above and beyond to make plays. And if you're going above and beyond to make plays to help your team win, you're hence therefore a game changer. So I just don't see how the two could be like the same thing. I don't know. And again, I don't have all the historical data in front of me right now. I don't know how many game managers, aka average quarterbacks, led the league in every single metric. Like you have to go beyond and above to make plays. Like out of script to make throws and rhythm. Like that's Brock Purdy's superpower, right?
And
my last point. I know you want to say something. I want to make this last point. If someone came to me and said, "Hey, Brendyn, you have to build a new NFL team. Okay, here's the 49ers roster. Who are you picking to start your team?" I would probably go with one player over Brock Purdy, and that's Trent, because it's tough to find a great left tackle. It's even way more rare to find the best left tackle, right? But after left tackle, you gotta go with quarterback. Again, that's the most important spot. And Purdy has shown that he can do things that other guys can't do. Guys, he came into the league last year and went on an 8-0 run as a rookie. Took his team to an NFC title game. And they only really lost that game. Now, Eagles fans would say no. But I think they really lost that game because Purdy got his damn elbow blown out in the first freaking quarter. You know what I mean? Yep. He wins games. He makes plays. Game changer, period.
And just to give, again, further data, actual situations that have happened and not hypothetical happens. Brandon Ayuk, the 2 seasons he's gone for 1,000 yards in his career have both come when Brock Purdy was the starting quarterback for the majority of the season. Last year and this year. Before that, Brandon Ayuk had not hit 1,000 yards. Now all of a sudden he's an all-pro, and of course that's on him developing as well and being a fantastic player. I'm not taking anything from Brandon. He loves the dude. Fantastic, great guy. That's an example, right? 2021, a lot of the same team, right? It's what it was, a lot of the same team. Jimmy Garoppolo, it didn't look like this. They weren't averaging the same amount of points. They couldn't get past the NFC Championship game. They kept getting stuck at the NFC Championship game since 2019 under Jimmy Garoppolo. A game manager, a guy where if the play breaks down, you're like, fuck it, dude, please throw it away. Oh my gosh, I had another data point in my head. Oh, a couple of ones, yes. At no point was Jimmy Garoppolo with, again, a lot of the same cast, Trent Williams, George Kittles, the Debos, the Freds, and everything else. Did he ever come close to leading the NFL in yards per game or in any of those major quarterbacking statistics? He just didn't. Never did. Same staff, never did.
Right.
It doesn't happen. It's kind of it doesn't. At no point did it have. At no point did these 4 all-star players reach 1,000 scrimmage yards each. This is, I think, the first time we're tied for the first time that's ever happened, where 4 skill position players on a team have all gone for 1,000 scrimmage yards. Kittle, Debo, Brandon, and Chris McCaffrey all went for 1,000 yards this year. It's never happened before.
Crazy.
Same staff last year, right? I mean,
right.
It's just my point I'm making with that is yes, obviously that's a great cast and they're helping lift Purdy up. You're not having those same kind of numbers if your receivers are leading the league in drops. Absolutely. But at the same time, he is lifting them up as well. He's getting them the ball in space. He's getting it on time and accurately and letting them make plays. He's giving them great back shoulder plays, allowing them a chance to make a play on the ball. It goes both ways, is my point on that. It's really is frustrating to see what sports talk has boiled down to is just these arbitrary, subjective thoughts that really don't amount to anything. And the minute you start thinking about this question at all, you really start going, this is fucking dumb. 10 better players than Brock Purdy. It
doesn't make anything
sense. By whose standard? By whose measure?
Right.
Right?
Right.
What are we doing here? So we'll drop it there for right now. I'm sure we'll be making and talking about this again because it seems to be a topic everyone really loves to just harp on, which we know why. We won't put it on here. We'll put it in a future episode, I'm sure, but we know why. It's a very popular topic to keep debating and discussing. And for 49ers fans watching this and holding out hope that someday the media is going to love Brock Purdy, don't get your hopes up.
All right.
I hate to break it to you. I love him. B loves him. We think he's fantastic. But if you're thinking of these Nick Wright guys and Cam Newton guys are going to flip a script and start loving Brock Purdy, I don't see it happening. But if you guys go now, let us know what you think about this conversational piece at all. Is this even worth debating. What are your thoughts on sports commentary? Let us know in the comment section. Give us a like and subscribe. We do this every week, and we try not to give you arbitrary subjective shit that has no actual bearings or hypotheticals in the real world. So if this is where we're losing you, until next time, it's been Emmett, it's been B. We'll see you guys. For those of us sticking around for our last segment, we are going to be discussing the Ravens Super Bowl window being closed. Again, a little bit of the thought process that goes into this one. The Ravens obviously just fell in the AFC Championship game to the Chiefs. They had best defense in the league, a historic defense. They had a fantastic run game. Lamar Jackson is poised for another MVP win. What is there a way for them to get over the hump? Do we think they can make this happen? Is their window closed? Is this really it for the Ravens? What are your thoughts on it? Will it ever happen for them?
They hate to say it, but kind of feels like and this is really no fault to the Ravens. I think there's some stuff that they can do to improve their chances, which we can get into later. But dude, the big bad man is still there in their conference. The guy who they just lost to at home, Patrick. He's still there. We talked about this at the beginning of the show. The Chiefs win the sixth straight, I believe, AFC title games. Mm-hmm. Fourth time going to Super Bowl in the past, whatever years, 7 years that Mahomes have been starting. Dude, it's a dynasty run. The big bad man is still there, and of course, we don't have like a magic genie ball that can forecast the future. Will Patrick Mahomes still be the same player once Andy Reid steps down? We don't know that. Will Mahomes be the best or the same player once Kelsey's done playing? We just talked about the Niners. So thinking about that, would he be the same player if Kelsey stops playing? We don't know that, right? But I do know that Mahomes is going to bring it every single year, every single time they play. And obviously, the Ravens cannot win the entire thing unless they get past the Chiefs. So with that, I'll kind of turn it over to you, but seems pretty cut and dry to me.
Yeah. So to clarify your point, you said yes. Yes, that their window is closed. No, you don't think they're ever going to win it. I tend to kind of agree with you. Not only do you have to deal with the big bad man in Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes, who, we are watching another dynasty run, which, again, I feel bad for fans in the AFC conference because you just went through it with Tom Brady and the Patriots. Now you have to go through it with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. I'm very unfortunate. But yeah, you're sandwiched between that, and you're also sandwiched between Josh Allen and the Bills, another team that's right there on that cusp. And we'll do a video about them later. But that you're competing with them and the Chiefs. You're dealing with two different powerhouses that you have to go through. And the problem that I see, and we'll move past the Chiefs' point here, is the biggest problem I see with the Ravens is it's kind of Lamar Jackson in a weird way, because so they have a fantastic front game, right? And they have a great defense, and I'm gonna list the excuses now, right? So we can get them out of the way. He doesn't have receiving weapons. Absolutely. Zay Flowers is a rookie. He looks promising. Odell Beckham, I don't know if he's just a shell of himself or he's just still recovering from that ACL or what the situation is. It just didn't work out this year. You have Rashad Bateman, who was drafted in the first round of Minnesota. He has not panned out. You have Mark Andrews and Zay Flowers. Those are and Isaiah Likely, who I really like. He's a fantastic tight end too. But that's it. That's all you got for Lamar. It's not top tier weapons. So absolutely, he doesn't have weapons. They could do a better job of improving them, right? But this is why I say it's Lamar, because he has made it evident that the media narrative around him gets to him, right? We've seen him make jokes about being a running back. We've all seen that video where they give him the game ball and goes, oh, not bad for a running back, right? We've all seen him kind of address that. And I think we're now seeing it play out in his play style. The Ravens moved on from Greg Roman because they wanted to switch to a more pass-focused offense. They wanted to get away from run and putting Lamar Jackson in those kind of situations. Okay, that's fair. We expected Lamar to develop, and you know what? He has. He's developed really well. I think he had the best completion percentage of his career. I think he also had the best passing yards of his career.
Yep.
Fantastic. But here's the thing about Lamar, and he's a good passer. We're not arguing saying he's a running back. We're not getting to those bullshit comments. He's a good passer. But what makes Lamar elite is his running ability. He's an unbelievable runner. He has this God-given ability to do things that no one else can do. And I don't think that's a bad thing for him, right? But the problem has now become that he doesn't want to use it because he wants to focus on that narrative of I'm a passer, I'm a quarterback, I'm not a running back, I'm a quarterback. I'm going to win this game by throwing it, which is fine in the regular season. But he had the least amount of rushing attempts he's had in his career. He averaged the least amount of rushing yards per game in his career. I know, I'm sorry, I'm taking your stats here that we pulled.
No, you're good.
But there's a clear emphasis on by him and the Ravens of not wanting Lamar to run as much, which we saw collapse in the AFC Championship game, right? You went against a team that is fantastic at stopping the pass. The Chiefs, they're top of the league. You went up against another historic defense that was able to shut down the underachieving weapons that Lamar has and kind of took away a lot of easy throws or any kind of throws. And instead of Lamar attacking the rushing lanes, the run lanes that were kind of opening up, he tried to sit back and force something to happen. That's what happens when you throw into triple coverage, right? He wasn't kind of like what Brock Purdy had to do in his NFC Championship game. Got to the second half, and he had that narrative to battle of, is it the Avengers or is it Brock Purdy? And he got to the second half and said, fuck it, my Avengers aren't caring for me. I'm running for these first downs. I'm doing what I got to do to win this game. Lamar had the same situation, right? He had a narrative combat. I'm not a running quarterback. I'm not a running quarterback. I'm a quarterback, right? And in order to overcome that narrative, he had to run. He had to ignore the noise around him and just play to win the game. And he didn't. He got too wrapped up into it. I need to throw. I need to get these passes off. And it seemed to really cost him. And again, we are discussing a game in which one Zay Flowers fumble away from it being tied. Then who knows what happens then? But that was a winnable game. Lamar had to run, right? They dared him to run, and he didn't want to. He refused to. So I'll turn it back over to you, and let you get your points in with that too.
Yeah, I mean, bringing up the Zay Flowers fumble is a good point. That could have been a game changer. We could be talking about the Ravens Niners right now playing for the bowl, but we're not, right? And I don't want to be painted as like anti-Raven. That's not the point of this like segment. But I'm just trying to think through this, right? This is supposed to be the Chiefs' down year. The Ravens had a better team. Like, we did a segment 6 weeks ago about the Chiefs' offense and how this wasn't the same. Like, what's going on here? It's not the same team. What's going on with the offense? Are they going to fall in the playoffs? What's happening? This is supposed to be the Ravens' year, right? The Ravens' season to finally get over that hump, make it to the bowl and all that stuff. And they got beat at home. And again, touch on the Chiefs. Again, it's not just the Chiefs that are there, right? They have Josh Allen there. Oh, and hey, they have a guy in their own division who was hurt all year that went to AFC title game twice already. Joe Burrow's still there. The Bengals are still there.
Herbert and the Chargers now too, under Jim Harbaugh.
Herbert and the Chargers. There's some things with two like the Dolphins, but they are still there. Like, all the top talent is in that conference. So we're not saying that the Ravens are a bad team and Lamar Jackson's bad. No, they are great. Yeah. But we're trying to look at the whole picture. It's going to the AFC is so damn tough now. It's so hard. There's a weird disbalance or unbalance between the AFC and the NFC. There's so many, the talent in the AFC right now is crazy, dude. It's tough to get there. And the season that they had, right, being the top team all year long, and not like they were, what was a good example? The Cowboys falling to good teams. Dude, the Ravens were beating every good team. Every team, I think they had the record of, most wins against, playoff teams or over 500 teams, something like that. They were winning ball games. And then a weird switch happened in that title game. It was a very, I don't know if it's the pressure. I don't want to say choking, but maybe something just got to them, to that offense, and they just weren't the same squad. But at the same point, when we get to those moments, I already just hit on it. It's tough to get there. You have to go through a gauntlet of teams to playoffs to get to that moment. You have to seize it. You have to win. And to that point, Lamar Jackson, if he was out there in his head about, I have to beat the Chiefs with my arm, I can't run. Dude, at that point, you got to win the game. Who cares? Yeah. You could run for 200 yards, throw for 50. Win the game and get there, dude.
and just to, I want to really, because I know there's people that are watching this and commenting and typing this, right? Well, he just ran for 100 yards against Houston. You're right. A game people really weren't watching. I mean, Ravens fans, I'm sure, were. Texans fans were watching, but it didn't have a whole lot of national attention. There was always like a predetermined notion the Ravens are going to win and move on. This is a rookie quarterback, rookie head coach going against the best defense in the MVP. People kind of had their assumptions that this game was going to go well and didn't really watch it too well. And even at that game, it was tied 10-10 at halftime. I will include there. And it took Lamar Jackson taking it over with his legs to lead to a dominant win. And this isn't the only example. Going back to Christmas Day, San Francisco versus the Ravens, the game that really made Lamar Jackson the MVP favorite again, right? It wasn't going well passing, right? There really wasn't guys getting open against San Francisco. The game started getting out of hand, not only with the turnovers, and that's a whole different conversation. The game really started getting out of hand for San Francisco. The game really started looking well for the Ravens when Lamar started running again. It was even noted, I think it was Fred Warner or Nick Bosa made the comment after the game of, he kind of tricked us. This whole season, he hasn't been attacking the rush lanes. He's wanted to stay in the pocket. And then against us, he felt he needed to escape. He started attacking those run lanes again and making us have to like change how we were rushing the passer, something we weren't expecting because he's been staying in the pocket all season. So it's not just us making these inferences. It was a matter of two different situations we're looking at and players noticing when he needed to take over and run, he did until it was on the biggest stage with everyone watching in the AFC Championship game. It seems like he let the narrative kind of consume him. He didn't want to be the guy that, won it by running. Seems to be what kind of happened with that.
Right. And dude, this run. We're not one of those people that say those BS things all year as running back. Dude, just win the game. Win the game. No one's gonna be saying shit when you win that like ring. Okay?
Yeah.
I don't care. Again, I don't care if you run for 200, throw for 50. Win the game. Who cares?
At that point, at that point, it's just about winning. It's all at the end of the day. You have a game next week, and the other team doesn't. Whoever's got whatever to say in the media, it doesn't matter. Like you just got to come away at that win. And I think it's just so disappointing and so frustrating to see because even like again a couple of teams that we forgot to mention that are up and coming. You have Houston, who's going to be back. CJ Stroud is going to be a second year. D'Amico Ryan is going to be a second year. Bobby Slowick is coming back. Tank Dell is coming back. You have the Jets who are getting Aaron Rodgers back. Who knows what he looks like, but it's still Aaron Rodgers, and they have a decent team there in New York. So this really felt like it was their best year to do it, and it really does kind of feel like he's one of those guys that gets sucked into the narratives around him a little too much. So you guys let us know in the comment section. Again, this is not an anti-Ravens video. We really appreciated watching the Ravens this year. If you go back and watch any of our game picks, we learned early on you don't pick against the Ravens. We even picked them to win the conference championship game. So we love Lamar. He's a fantastic player. So guys, head down to the comment section. Let us know what your thoughts. Do you think the media narrative is against Lamar? Do you think he needs to tune out the noise and just win like he's been winning? While you're done there, give us a like and subscribe. We do these videos every week. We love talking with you guys. We love hearing from you. With that, I think that's going to wrap up another episode for us. You guys can find us on YouTube, Spotify, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. Until next time, it's been Emmett. It's been B. Bye, guys.
See y'all.
There we go.